Welcome to this deep dive where we're going to explore some really interesting ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from Daniel H. Pink's To Sell is Human.
Okay, cool.
We've got a great summary of the book to work with here.
Awesome.
And I think you'll find that these ideas are surprisingly relevant to just about everyone, not just people in those traditional sales roles.
Right, yeah, you think about sales and you think of, somebody in a suit.
Yeah.
Trying to sell you a car.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
It really kind of flips that whole idea on its head.
It really does. What's so fascinating about it is how Pink expands that concept.
Right.
To encompass way more than just closing deals.
Yes. In fact, one of the first things that jumps out at me is Pink's assertion that we are all in sales, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
He argues that selling is fundamentally about persuasion.
Right.
And it's something we do every single day.
Every day. Yeah. It's so true. And it's really interesting to kind of take a step back and think about all the times we're trying to influence others.
Yeah.
Persuade them to see our point of view or just get them to take some kind of action. Right? Whether you're convincing a friend to try a new restaurant, negotiating a deadline at work, or,
even getting your kids to eat their vegetables.
Oh, yeah.
It all involves persuasion to some degree.
It does.
It's kind of like that saying everything is sales.
Right.
But I think what makes Pink's perspective so interesting is that he goes deep into the psychology behind it.
Absolutely.
And offers practical strategies for being effective.
Absolutely. And one of the things that he really challenges is this idea that we all have that extroverts make the best salespeople.
Yeah.
And I think we've all kind of thought that in the past.
For sure.
And he cites this research from Adam Grant, who found that ambiverts.
Ambiverts.
Yeah. People who fall kind of in between introversion and extroversion.
Okay.
They're actually the most effective persuaders.
That's really interesting because it kind of goes against the stereotype of the super outgoing, charismatic salesperson.
Totally. And Pink says that these ambiverts, they have this advantage. Right. Because they can really connect with people authentically without being too pushy, right?
Yes.
Like they strike a balance between listening attentively and then asserting themselves when needed.
Right.
So you can imagine like if you're pitching a new idea to your team.
Okay.
An ambivert might start by asking some thoughtful questions.
Right.
To gauge everybody's interest, understand their concerns.
Yeah.
And then kind of present their own ideas, but,
right.
enthusiastically, but not overwhelmingly, right?
It makes a lot of sense. It's not just about being loud or like dominating the conversation.
No.
It's more about like reading the room.
Yeah.
And being able to kind of adapt your approach to connect.
Absolutely. And it's a good reminder for all of us to think about where we fall on that introversion, extroversion spectrum.
Yeah.
And, understanding your own natural style can help you really be a much more effective persuader.
For sure. For sure. Now, there was another point that really caught my attention in the summary.
Okay.
Pink talks about this shift from what he calls irritation to agitation in the sales process. I've never heard those terms used in that way before.
Yeah, it's very unique.
What'd you think about that?
Well, it is. It's a really unique way of framing it.
Right.
And, irritation, as he defines it, is all about pushing people towards what we want. It's that hard sell approach.
Yeah.
That we always think of, that classic.
That can backfire.
That can totally backfire and create resistance.
Yeah.
But he says agitation is more collaborative.
Okay.
It's about understanding what the other person needs, their motivations.
Yeah.
And then aligning your goals with that.
So instead of pushing your own agenda, you're trying to find that common ground.
Yeah.
And show how your idea benefits them.
Exactly.
That sounds a lot more effective.
It is.
And less sleazy than, some of the sales tactics you see out there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And if you think about it, let's say you're trying to convince your boss to approve a project.
Okay.
Instead of just saying, hey, this is going to be great for the company, you can frame it in a way that speaks to their own personal goals, their priorities.
Right, yeah. Make them look good.
Exactly. Maybe this is an opportunity for them to get some recognition,
Right.
Or showcase their leadership skills or something like that.
That's a great example. And I think it highlights how this agitation is really about building trust.
Yes.
And rapport.
Absolutely.
Rather than just trying to get your way.
It's not about manipulation.
Yeah. Which actually reminds me of another fascinating point.
Okay.
From the summary. Pink's idea of interrogative self-talk.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. That's a good one. That's where he really goes deep.
Right.
Into the power of our inner dialogue.
Yeah.
And you know how we can use that to boost our persuasive abilities?
Yeah, it sounds a little strange at first.
It does.
But his research suggests that asking yourself questions, like, will I achieve this, is more effective than saying, I will achieve this.
Exactly. And there's a good reason for that.
Yeah.
Because that interrogative self-talk really forces us to confront potential obstacles. Right? And challenges that we might face. It encourages us to really think critically. And strategize.
Instead of just blindly affirming.
Exactly. Instead of just going through the motions.
So it's like prompting yourself to think through the process. And anticipate roadblocks.
Exactly. And that can make you much more confident and persuasive when it comes time to pitch your ideas.
I love that.
It's so simple.
It's so simple, but
so powerful.
Powerful, yeah. I could definitely see myself using that before, like, my next big presentation or meeting.
Yeah. It's a great tool to have in your persuasive arsenal.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of tools, Pink outlines 5 frames for presenting ideas that can make them more compelling and persuasive. He calls these less, experience, label, blemished, and potential.
To 5 frames.
5 frames.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little taste of what those are about?
Sure. Each one kind of offers a different lens, right? To present your ideas through. So for instance, the less frame really emphasizes simplicity and focus. And, you know, he actually uses a really good example, this jam tasting study. Where people are more likely to buy jam when there are fewer choices.
That's so counterintuitive. You'd think that more would be better.
You would think. But it just goes to show, sometimes less is more.
Interesting. So how do the other frames work?
Well, the experience frame really taps into the emotional aspect of decision-making. So instead of just listing features of a new gadget or something, you might want to focus on how it will make someone feel, right? Maybe more connected, more productive, you know, more adventurous, something like that.
I see. What about the label frame?
The label frame plays on our desire to belong, to be part of a group. He highlights this study where people were willing to pay a higher salary to a veteran consultant than a rookie consultant.
Interesting.
Even though they had the same exact experience. Yeah, just the label carried a certain weight that influenced people's perception of value.
It's like they get a little halo effect or something.
It is.
It's based on that label.
And the blemished frame, this one's an interesting one. It's about acknowledging a minor flaw or drawback. Which can actually make it more persuasive. Because it makes it seem more honest and trustworthy.
Like, hey, this isn't perfect, but...
Exactly. It disarms people. It makes them more receptive to your message.
That's a good one.
It's about managing expectations. Building credibility.
What about the potential frame?
The potential frame focuses on the future possibilities. Right. It taps into our desire for growth and progress.
So instead of just saying, here's what we've done. You'd say, here's where we could go.
Here's what could be.
Yeah. These frames are giving me so many ideas.
I know, right?
I'm starting to see how I can use these in all sorts of situations.
Yeah, that's what's so great about Pink's work. He gives us these insights that we can implement in our daily life.
Okay, before we move on, I've touched on this idea of upserving instead of upselling.
Yeah.
Because that really resonated with me.
That's a big one.
I love that. So what'd you think about that?
Yeah, that's where he really elevates the whole concept of selling to another level. He argues that the most effective way to sell is to actually focus on serving the other person.
It's about building those genuine relationships.
Absolutely.
Creating win-win situations.
It's about understanding their perspective, listening to their concerns, and finding ways to add value to their lives.
It makes me think about those times when I've encountered, you know, a salesperson who's clearly passionate about what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And their enthusiasm is just infectious. And it makes me more likely to trust them.
Exactly.
And consider what they're recommending.
And it goes beyond selling products, right? You think about teachers, doctors, you know, even parents. When they approach those roles from a place of service and genuine care,
it transforms.
Totally transforms the dynamic.
The whole thing. Yeah, it makes so much sense. Now, there was this other section about strategic mimicry.
Yeah.
Is that about literally copying.
No, it's not about being a copycat.
Okay.
It's much more nuanced.
Okay.
He breaks it down into 3 steps.
Okay.
Watch, wait, and wane.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Walk me through those.
Okay. First, you watch. You pay attention to their body language, their tone, their energy level.
Right.
Then you wait.
Okay.
You're not mirroring every move.
Right.
But you look for an opportunity to subtly match their energy, their tone.
Right.
And then you wane.
Okay.
You let it kind of fade as you build that rapport.
Okay.
And the conversation can flow more naturally.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
It is.
Between being attuned.
Yeah.
Without being creepy or insincere.
Exactly. And if you think about it, have you ever noticed how you kind of naturally mirror the body language of someone you're really comfortable with?
For sure.
It's a subconscious way of building rapport, right?
Right.
So this is kind of like the conscious way of doing that.
It's like speaking the same nonverbal language. Now, another concept that stood out to me was buoyancy.
Oh, yeah.
This is something I think we all struggle with.
We do.
Especially when it comes to putting ourselves out there.
Yeah.
And trying to persuade others.
Buoyancy is all about resilience, right? It's about staying afloat when you face rejection, which is an inevitable part of this whole thing.
Oh, yeah, it's tough.
Especially if you're in sales.
Yeah, you're constantly hearing no.
You're hearing no all the time. So, yeah, it can be tough, but Pink offers some really good strategies for dealing with that. And one of them is, you know, embracing your no's.
That sounds counterintuitive. Why would you want to focus on your rejections?
Well, it's all about reframing it.
Okay.
It's a sign that you're putting yourself out there, you're taking risks.
Okay.
So instead of letting those no's crush you, you kind of keep track of them.
Right.
Almost like a badge of honor.
Okay.
You know, it's a way of desensitizing yourself to the rejection.
So you're turning that negative into
a positive or at least neutral.
At least something neutral.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a way of shifting your perspective.
Right. What about that technique where you write your own rejection letter?
Oh, yeah. Preempting a rejection.
Preempting rejection. What is that?
So you're writing a letter to yourself.
Okay.
Rejecting yourself.
It sounds strange.
It does sound strange.
But okay.
But it's a powerful exercise because you're putting yourself in the shoes of the person who might reject you.
Right.
So you can anticipate their objections and then address them proactively.
You're basically forcing yourself to think critically about the weaknesses.
Exactly.
And then come up with counter arguments.
You're turning the tables.
Right.
Using rejection to your advantage.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I think we all struggle with is connecting with our future selves.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like saving for retirement.
Yes. So hard.
It's so easy to spend now.
It is. And Pink connects this to this fascinating concept.
Okay.
Called problem finding.
Problem finding.
Okay.
And he says that effective problem solving actually starts with identifying the right problem.
So before you even start brainstorming
exact solutions,
you need to take a step back.
And define the problem.
Yes. And it can make a huge difference in the outcome. He cites the study with these art students.
Okay.
They were divided into 2 groups.
Okay.
One was asked to produce a good drawing, and the other was tasked with finding a good drawing to produce.
Interesting.
So one focused on execution, the other one focused on problem finding.
Okay.
And the results are really interesting. The problem finding group
okay.
produced drawings that were judged as significantly more creative.
Wow. So by spending time really understanding the problem,
yes,
they came up with more innovative solutions.
Exactly. And I think that applies to so many areas of life, right?
Right.
Whether you're trying to launch a business, write a book, or improve your relationships, it's the same thing.
Now, we talked about Pink's 5 frames for presenting ideas earlier.
Oh.
We talked about less and experience.
Yeah.
But what about label, blemished, and potential?
Okay, so as we mentioned, the label frame really plays on our desire to belong.
Right.
Right, to be a part of a certain group.
Yeah.
So you're associating your idea with a particular identity that resonates.
Right.
With the audience.
Okay.
So let's say you're trying to market a new fitness program.
Right.
You might emphasize that it's the Yoga for Busy Professionals program.
Okay.
Right. Or the Fitness for New Moms program.
Right.
Or something like that.
Right.
You're creating a tribe.
Creating a tribe.
Around that idea.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the blemished frame?
Blemished.
Yeah.
So that might seem counterintuitive, but it's all about managing expectations.
Right.
And building trust.
We talked earlier about how acknowledging a flaw
right.
can actually be good.
Exactly. And he gives this great example, this study where people were more likely to buy a pair of boots when the description included a small scratch. Yeah, this tiny imperfection made it more desirable.
Because it seems more honest and transparent.
Exactly. It's like, hey, I'm not trying to hide anything.
Right.
This isn't perfect, but it's still great.
It's about embracing imperfection.
Exactly.
Okay, what about potential?
Potential is all about tapping into our fascination with possibility.
Okay.
So you're emphasizing what could be, right?
Right.
Rather than what is.
Right.
So let's say you're pitching an investment opportunity.
Okay.
Instead of just focusing on the company's current performance, you might emphasize the potential for growth.
Gotcha.
The expansion in the future, you're painting that picture.
These frames are so powerful, I'm starting to see them everywhere now.
That's great. That's what happens when you learn these concepts.
Now, we've talked a lot about presenting ideas.
Yeah.
And making a pitch.
Yeah.
But what about when we're on the receiving end?
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Especially today.
Especially today.
We're bombarded.
Oh my gosh, yes.
By information from every direction.
And Pink addresses that head on.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of curation.
Curation, okay.
In this age of information overload.
Okay.
So just like a museum curator.
Right.
Carefully selects artifacts to tell a story.
Right.
We need to be curators of the information we consume.
That makes sense, but how do you actually do that in practice?
He suggests a 3-step process.
Okay.
Seek, sense, and share.
Okay, break that down.
Okay, so first, you seek. You identify the best sources of information for your needs. Right. This might be subscribing to newsletters, following thought leaders, or joining online communities.
So you're being intentional about where you get your information.
Exactly. And then sense. You're making meaning out of that information.
Okay.
So you might be highlighting key takeaways, writing summaries, creating your own personal knowledge base.
So you're not just passively consuming.
No.
You're actively processing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then finally, you share. So you're disseminating your curated content.
Gotcha.
Maybe you're sharing articles, writing blog posts, creating your own newsletter.
So you're becoming a curator of information for yourself and others.
Exactly.
Oh.
And this not only helps you manage this overload,
right,
but it also positions you as a thought leader, right? Yeah. As someone who's adding value.
Okay, this is brilliant. I'm going to start applying this.
It's a game changer. And, you know, another technique that really resonated with me is using the 5 whys technique.
5 whys?
Yeah, 5 whys.
Okay, what's that?
So it's really simple.
Okay.
But powerful for problem solving.
Okay.
It's all about getting to that root cause of an issue.
Okay.
By repeatedly asking why.
So you start with the problem and just keep asking why.
Yes.
Until you get to the core.
Until you get to that root.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
I love that analogy. Okay, give me an example.
Okay, so let's say you're constantly missing deadlines.
Yeah, I've been there.
We've all been there. So you start by asking, why am I missing these deadlines?
Oh, okay.
And maybe the answer is, well, I'm taking on too many projects.
Okay.
Then you ask, well, why am I taking on too many projects?
Right.
So you just keep going until you get to that root cause.
I love how this forces you to think deeply about the underlying cause.
It does. It can be a real eye-opener.
Instead of just treating the symptom.
Exactly. And once you understand the root cause,
right,
then you can really come up with a good solution.
This is such a great tool for problem solving and innovation.
Yeah, it really is. It can be used in so many areas.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the traditional elevator pitch feels a bit outdated.
It does. It feels very like 20th century, right?
Yeah.
In today's world.
Yeah, no one has an attention span.
No, we don't.
For more than a few seconds.
Right, exactly. So how do you make an impression when you have such a short amount of time?
Right.
Well, he proposes 6 successors.
6 successors to the elevator pitch.
To the elevator pitch, yeah.
Wow, okay.
All designed to be more concise, engaging, and memorable.
I am all ears. Tell me about these new and improved pitches.
Okay, so it starts with the one-word pitch.
One-word pitch.
One-word pitch, as the name suggests.
Okay.
You're capturing the essence of your idea in a single powerful word.
Wow, that's concise. I could see how that would spark curiosity.
It does, right. And it gets people asking questions.
Yeah.
It leaves them wanting more.
Right.
And then there's the question pitch.
Okay.
Which uses a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
To engage your listener.
So instead of just stating your idea, you pose a question.
You pose a question to get them thinking.
I like that. What are some of the others?
Well, there's the rhyming pitch, which uses rhyme to make the message stick.
Rhyming. Really?
Rhyme, yeah. It might sound a little unconventional.
Okay.
But rhyme can actually enhance processing fluency.
Okay.
So it makes it easier for our brains to grasp and remember information.
So a catchy rhyme could make your pitch more impactful.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What else? The subject line pitch, which is focused on crafting a compelling subject line.
Oh, yeah. We all know how important subject lines are.
So important, right? Makes the difference between your email getting read or going straight to the trash.
Yeah, it's your first impression.
It is.
And sometimes your only impression.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the last two?
Okay, there's the Twitter pitch,
Okay.
which is all about condensing your message into a concise tweet.
With the character limit.
With the character limit.
You have to be strategic.
You do.
With your wording.
You do. And then the Pixar pitch.
Pixar pitch.
Yeah, it's inspired by the storytelling.
Oh, cool.
Well, Pixar movies. It encourages you to think about what you want your audience to know, to feel, and to do after they hear your pitch.
That's a powerful framework.
Yeah. It goes beyond just conveying information.
Right.
And it taps into that emotional power.
Okay, we've covered so much ground already. But there's one more thing I want to touch on.
Okay.
Pink talks about 3 rules from improvisational theater
Yes, he does.
that are essential for persuasion.
Yes, and these improv rules are all about fostering collaboration
Right.
and building rapport.
Right, which is so crucial.
Which is crucial, yes.
For any kind of interaction.
It is.
I love the idea of applying improv principles to everyday life.
Me too.
So tell me about these rules.
Okay, the first one is hear offers.
Okay.
It's about actively listening to the other person
Right.
and being open to their ideas.
So it's going beyond just waiting for your turn to speak.
Yes, it's about really being present.
Yeah.
Even if you don't agree.
Okay. What's the second rule?
The second one is say yes and.
Okay.
It's about building on the other person's ideas,
Yeah.
not shutting them down.
Right.
So instead of saying no but,
Yeah.
which can create that feeling of opposition,
Yeah.
say yes and then you add your perspective, your idea.
This sounds like a great way to foster collaboration
It is.
and creativity.
It is. You're working together to build something new.
I love that. What's the third rule?
The third rule is make your partner look good.
Yeah.
So you're supporting them. You're making them feel valued.
That's such a great principle
It is.
for any interaction,
It is.
whether it's a business meeting or just a casual conversation. Make the other person feel good.
Yeah.
It enhances the connection.
It does.
Creates a more positive experience.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
These improv rules are so simple,
They are.
but so profound.
Yeah.
I can see how they could be applied to so many areas.
It's amazing how these simple principles from improv can have such a profound impact.
Yeah.
And they really highlight the collaborative nature of persuasion.
Right.
It's not about manipulating or outsmarting.
Yeah.
It's about connecting, building rapport,
Yeah.
working together.
This whole deep dive has been such an eye-opener.
I know, me too.
To sell, as a human really flips the script
It does.
on what it means to be persuasive
Right.
and how we can use these skills, not just in business,
Right.
but like every aspect of our lives.
Every aspect, yeah. Pink's book is full of practical strategies,
Right. Yeah.
thought-provoking insights that can help us communicate better,
Yeah.
build stronger relationships,
Yeah.
and live more fulfilling lives.
Okay, before we wrap up,
Okay.
I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Uh-huh.
The idea of purpose-driven work.
Oh, yeah.
That theme kind of runs throughout the whole book.
It does. It's a big one.
Yeah.
And Pink emphasizes that connecting your work to a larger purpose is one of the most powerful ways to enhance your persuasive abilities.
It's about finding meaning and fulfillment in what you do,
Yes.
and then communicating that passion authentically
Exactly.
to others.
It's about believing in the value you bring and using your skills to make a positive impact.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great note to end on.
It is.
So for those of you listening,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
What are you passionate about?
Yes.
And how can you connect that passion to serving others?
That's it.
Think about how your unique skills and talents can be used to make a difference.
That's where the true persuasive power lies.
Yeah.
And if you're eager to explore these ideas further, discover even more strategies for becoming a master persuader, definitely check out Daniel H. Pink's To Sell is Human.
Absolutely. This deep dive has given me so much to think about and put into practice.
I know, me too.
Thank you so much for guiding us through these brilliant insights.
It's been my pleasure. Absolutely. It's been great. And it's so true. These ideas, they really can help us all become better communicators no matter what we do.
Right. Whether you're in sales or a teacher or a parent or just trying to get your point across in a meeting.
Exactly. And one thing that really stuck with me from this deep dive is Pink's emphasis on the power of serving others.
Yeah, that's a big one. And it really ties back to everything we've been talking about, doesn't it?
It does. It's about understanding people's needs, connecting with them on a human level, and finding ways to genuinely add value to their lives.
And that's where true persuasion lies.
Right. It is. It's not about manipulation or tricks.
Right. It's about authenticity, building trust, and creating those win-win situations.
Exactly. And when you approach persuasion from that perspective, it becomes less about selling and more about building meaningful relationships.
I love that. So for everyone listening out there, I think that's a great takeaway.
It is.
Remember, persuasion is about more than just closing deals.
Right.
It's about connecting with people, understanding their needs, and finding ways to serve them.
And if you're looking for even more insights and strategies on this topic, definitely check out Daniel H. Pink's To Sell is Human. It's a fantastic read.
It is. This has been such a fascinating deep dive.
I know. It's been great.
I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I'm excited to put these ideas into practice.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And for all of you listening out there, thanks for tuning in to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.